Welcome back to Island Life Live. Millions of Malihini visit the islands annually to lounge on the golden sand or take a dip in the ocean.
Beaches, lakes, ponds, waterfalls, they're all so alluring, but they can also be dangerous, resulting in scores of drownings each year.
That's right. It's one of the topics addressed at the recent Visitor Public Safety Conference.
Joining us right now to share some insight from the conference are Mufi Hanneman, president of the Hawaii Lodging Tourism Association, and Allison Schaefer's mama of the beautiful Charlotte Sharkey Schaefer's. Allison's a member of the Hawaii Water Safety Coalition. Aloha and welcome.
Thank you so much for your folks being here. We appreciate this. Important things to talk about, kind of sobering too, yeah. Kind of a sobering topic to talk about, but something very, very important.
Yeah. And Mufi, we'll start with you. Can you briefly tell us what the Visitor Public Safety Annual Conference is all about?
Sure. This is the 7th year we've been doing this with the HLTA and some very important partners of ours in a collaborative way to look at some of the public safety issues that we face today. Where are we? And then also to point out some of the things that we'd like to do in the future and give more emphasis in. And that's exactly what's happening while Allison is with us. At our conference this past month at the convention center, it was a highlight of the conference. We talked about homelessness, we talked about emergency preparedness management, we talked about the latest that is coming about with the Waikiki Safe and Sound program. But this one clearly caught our attention because of 3 very important statistics. We're number 1 in the nation when it comes to deaths caused by drownings. Number 1 amongst the visitors. We are number 2 when it comes to our residents being affected by drownings. But here's the one that really grabbed me, and I have to thank Allison and Jessamy Town Horn and all the volunteers of the Water Safety Coalition came together, that we are number 1 when it comes to our keiki between the ages of 1 and 15, especially amongst Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders.
You know, I such sobering statistics, but at the same time, I thank you so much for being so inspired, Allison. You and the team of the Hawaii Water Safety Coalition. I know that you folks wrote up Hawaii's very first water safety plan. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So in 2023, the United States actually wrote a water safety plan, and they challenged all the states to write a plan. And Hawaii is the 2nd state in the nation to write a drowning prevention and water safety plan. We came after California. We're also, it's kind of apropos because we're also, unfortunately, the second highest state for resident deaths in the nation. And as Mufi talked about, the saddest part is that Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander component. We actually have a young rock star epidemiologist with the Department of Health named John Clark, and John did an equity study, and he took a look at who was drowning in Hawaii. And when he ran the numbers, and I think one thing I should say is John is the great-grandnephew of Duke Kahanamoku.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was really, that kind of was a chicken skin moment for me too. And John looked at these numbers and he found that even though Native Hawaiians are 27% of our, and Pacific Islanders together are 27% of our population, they're 36% of the drowning rates. And in terms of the drowning deaths, they're 1.5% higher. And when you look at Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander children, it's three times the rate. And so, we have to do something about that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm a parent of a child that drowned in Hawaii in 2004, Charlotte Sharkey Schaefer's. She drowned in a detention pond that flooded, and she drowned jumping in to save a child who couldn't swim. But the pond was so big and so slippery, it wasn't designed to hold water. They're not supposed to, but it was 89% clogged. So she was able to push her friend out, but she drowned. And when the adults went to try to get her out, they knew pretty quickly where she was. This happened in seconds. They formed a grid, and it took more than 10 minutes to pull her out of the water. And my friend, who was lifeguard trained, actually is the one that found her body, and she pushed her out of the water, but my friend couldn't get out of this pond herself. All of the other adults had to help her out.
Wow.
So there's some legislation around that this year that we proposed to try to do some fencing and signage and some maintenance requirements and some inspections. But there's a lot of other things, grassroots things, and things like in-school lessons.
Yes. like learning water safety. I mean, we're surrounded by water. I guess the assumption is that families will teach their kids how to swim because we're surrounded by the ocean, but that's not always true. Is that right, Mufi?
That's correct, and that's why I'm looking at this as more than just a tourism issue.
Yeah.
Okay, it really is an issue that affects each and every one of us who call Hawaii our home. So we need to ramp up our education efforts.
Absolutely.
We need to be proactive about messaging, and then we also have to support legislation at the state capitol, at the county level, to ensure that we're all doing our part, because you want to be number one for a lot of positive things, but you don't want to be number one when
Not
it
for
comes
this.
to
Absolutely.
drowning.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
We just have a few more seconds, but Allison, can you please share with us some of the bills that the Hawaii Water Safety Coalition is advocating for in this year's state legislature, so that we can call our representatives to focus on them as well?
Sure. So on the retention and detention pond safety side, we have House Bill 1322. That's awaiting a hearing in the Finance Committee, but it's passed through 2 committees and a floor vote. On the Senate side, we have Senate Bill 1221. Both of these, and that bill has passed through committees and is awaiting a hearing in WAM. And these bills focus on making retention and detention ponds safe, so we don't have another one that gets 89% clogged in our keiki dye.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. The other one is an in-school lessons bill. That bill is easy to remember. It's HB 1234. It's going to the Finance Committee on the 20th, so just a couple days from now.
Yeah.
One thing that is really important from an equity standpoint, the best place to teach our keiki is in school, because after school, not everybody can pay for those after school programs, and not everybody can get to the after school programs. They might have too many jobs, they might lack transportation. So I think Mufi and I were talking about this earlier. The big issue, we think with Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders too, is our poorest kids often get left behind if we don't have an equitable solution. So we feel like this drowning in-school lessons, drowning prevention in-school lessons is really important because it's an equity issue.
Truly, this is such an important issue. So, family, please, reach out to your legislators and let them know how you feel about these very important issues.
Lena, I just want to say one thing too, one last thing. This beautiful message that's been conveyed. As a former mayor, I appreciate that we have some of the best, if not the finest, watermen and waterwomen in the world.
We do.
Absolutely.
But they can't be everywhere. So we have to help be their eyes and ears. We have to be proactive about making sure they have all the tools necessary and they have the support from the community. So when this happens under their watch, they're going to have the kukua and the support, and will reduce the number of deaths that are occurring.
Got it. And looking after our keiki.
Yeah, that's right.
Mufi Hanneman, Allison Schaefers, we thank you so much for being with
Oh,
us.
thank you.
We'll be right back right here on Island Life Live.